We'll get started. Hey, Access team, we have been working through a whole bunch of stuff here lately, but the insurance training is back. And you know that I know nothing about insurance. So you see who I got here? Looky there. We got Melissa Hutchins. She's going to be here, and we're going to be talking about an add-on to the insurance part one. You all will remember you had 10 days to watch that 2 times. And if you had questions, you were supposed to send them our way. And I know I've talked with a couple of you on that with insurance questions. So we're just continuing to do a deep dive on the insurance. The other thing I wanted to let everyone know is we're actually going to begin pulling Megan Reed into assisting our team just with going through insurance training, support, and things like that. So we're going to have a meeting in the upcoming week that's going to include me, Megan Reed, Melissa Hutchins, Amber Sebastian, Lynn Hughes, Mary Beth, and we're just going to go through insurance and put together a plan on how we can continue to roll this out. Because the fewer errors that we have on this end, that reduces the the amount of error corrections that we have, event corrections, all the emails that we get that we have to do for follow-up. So just wanted you all to know that. So Melissa, could you just kind of give us an intro to what we're about to go over, and then I'll move out of the way.
Yes, so right now we're going to go through a HIP MDWise authorization that the Access staff faxes to get authorization for. So we're going to go through the 3 steps that we use to start this.
And so could you recap where in the insurance process does this take place, what we're about to go over?
Okay, this is once we've established that this client has a certain entity, a managed care organization for insurance. We verify that, and then we start the PA form, which is the prior authorization form that needs to be filled out in order for this client to start the process of getting the fax completed.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that intro, and take it away.
All right. So this first step is that this client we are establishing that this client has a managed care organization through Medicaid. So once we have actually scanned this into Art's email so that you can see it from the beginning. And so that's what we're going to do right now. I can just get this to scroll down. All right, Art, I need your help here.
Oh yeah, so I'll show you how to do that. So all you're going to do, you actually got to use kind of 2 fingers. Well, you can use like this, and you just scroll down like that. You see how I'm moving the mouse right here with my hand, 2 fingers.
Okay.
That'll allow you to go up and down.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Is that working for you?
Not like it worked for you.
So hold it. So you got to make sure they're going in the right way. So I'm
Okay.
just taking these 2, and you just go like that.
Okay.
You see? So they're just both going in the right direction.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right.
There you go.
All right. So,
Yeah.
well, I knew this was fun.
Hey, you can see we both have there you go.
Okay.
All
right.
right. Yes. You can press it once. So what happened? You got a menu up there. Get it? There you go. You got it. Yeah.
All right. So this first step is that this client, at the very bottom of the managed care organization program, we have established by going to the expand all on this person's insurance that they have HIP MDWise. You can see that on the screen, HIP MDWise. It has Healthy Indiana Plan Managed Care and MDWise as their managed care organization. So we've established that. And so we would move on to our next item that we would do on this authorization, and that would be to go to the prior authorization form. And we will find that here.
Yeah, so it's going to be, yep.
Okay. Okay. So once we've established that on this form, the very first part of it is it says it has entities and it has Healthy Indiana Plan and it's MDWise Healthy Indiana plan. We know that because we've already looked at the insurance and found out from the expand all that this is, the managed care organization is HIPMD wise. So then we would put put an X on that circle where it says HIPMD wise, indicating that this is what the insurance is.
Here's a
Okay.
question.
Mhm.
So would we be able to find that information if we did not click expand all?
No, it would just show us a Medicaid number. And then we would have to go to the very bottom of that and expand all to find out what managed care organization that this client has.
So that, again, just as a reminder, that's our quick action item. One of the reasons you're clicking expand all, because this is giving us the complete information that we need for the insurance. Is that correct?
Yes.
If we don't click that expand all, we're only putting in part of the information, and then we get event correction. We get all kind of emails from that.
Yes.
So the action item is just explaining why, again, are we hitting that expand all button on the main screen.
Yes. And so if you can see here where it says patient information, it says member ID. That is where you would put that information that you just found from verifying the insurance in that line. So you would fill that out. And you would have to have the verification to be able to do that. So that first line is the managed care organization number that is found on the Medicaid website that you've already verified. And the second step is the date of birth. And then the patient's name and the address and the phone number at the very next part of that. Scroll down for you here.
So go up with your fingers.
Yes.
So you got two. You got to do two of them. Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. I'll get used to this. I usually don't. I use a mouse every time I'm on the computer, so it's kind of new to me.
Let me give you a little hand. on
Okay,
that.
there
You
you
just
go.
get used to it.
Okay.
Like,
Uh-huh.
so first you just make sure you're on the document.
Okay.
And then once, so like I'm making sure I'm there, and then you just use your two fingers.
Okay. There we go. All
There we
right. All right. So the next step. So we filled in those boxes, and you go all the way down to where it says patient guardian phone. That's the last box that you fill out on that step of it. The very next thing that you'll do is you have to put a diagnosis code in where it says DX1, and the very next box that's empty, that is where a diagnosis code goes in for this client. So on that box, how do you find out that information? You will have to go to the admission order. On the admission order, it specifically says at the top, the admitting order for the client.
So let's stop there. So we're on the box that says medical diagnosis,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
You review what we have to use. We use that DX1, correct?
Mhm.
And
That-
then where do we get that information?
We
here?
get that from the client's admission order that was already filled out before you started this process. You have to have that information as well.
Right, so you have to have the client admissions order to
Yes.
complete this form.
Yes.
You can't complete it without it, right?
Right.
So again, let's review. We started off on the main insurance screen.
Mhm.
We got to this form. And in order to complete this form, we need the admission order.
Yes.
So just want to make clear, the action item is what information do we need to complete this form that we're going to fax? And we're going to put it in DX1.
Yes.
So let's go now to the admission order.
All right.
Just put that up there.
All right. All right, there it is. The very second line on the admission order, it has this person's admitting diagnosis. So that is what we will use to put in that box for this admission order, for this prior authorization form.
Are there any other lines that we need to pay attention to on the admission order for the form that we're dealing with?
No, this has to be, when this client is admitted on that time, that has to be the admission order. It can't be, if it's in their chart as a wanted diagnosis code, we will use the one that's on the current admission order, because this client may have had a diagnosis at one time that is not the same that is on the admitting diagnosis for
So
that
we
day.
can't just look at the chart. We can't look at older
Mhm.
information. We
Mhm.
have to use this admissions order.
Yes.
And explain why again, because that was a good point.
Yeah, so this person was admitted on this date for this reason. It can't be what's in their chart from the last time they were admitted. It could be the same diagnosis, but you have to make sure you have current information that you're putting into these boxes to get the authorization approved.
So the action item is, why do we have to use the current admissions order. We just reviewed that with you. All right, keep going, Melissa.
So we will get out of that box. We'll go back to our,
It is to your right.
yep, there we go, prior authorization form. So once we've got that in the box, I'm sorry, part one, there we go, getting it.
You need help? Okay,
Yes.
which way are we going? We'll go.
Yes, okay.
All right.
All right, so the start date. So in that box, the very next thing that we fill out on this form is the start date. You will go back to the client's admissions and diagnosis to make sure you have the right date in that box. And you will just go right back into Essentia, go to admissions and diagnosis, and you'll put the start date when that person was admitted to our inpatient unit. You make sure that you have that date right, because we don't want to miss days for this client to get authorization for their stay on the inpatient unit.
So just review that, because that seems like it's an important step.
Yes, so when I am going through these, and I am getting ready to fax information, I make sure that I have the right start date. So it could have been that this process started on, let's say, the 23rd, but they did not get admitted to our inpatient unit until the 24th. I want to make sure that I have that date right, that it coincides with their admission.
And where do we find that information?
Admissions and diagnosis in Essentia for the client. You would click right onto that and it would show you that this client was admitted on that date, the date that you put in that box.
So that, I think, are we almost done with the form, or?
We are almost done with it.
So I think that's one of the last, and that's a pretty simple action item, is where do we find that information on the date of admission? So we just reviewed that.
Yes.
Keep going.
All right. So the last thing that we would do for this prior authorization form is there at the bottom. It says signature of qualified practitioner. Now you are able to fill that out, and in behalf of Dr. Surjit Singh, that's always going to be the one that you put in that box. And right next to that, you're going to put MD, and then you're going to put a slash, and then you're going to sign your own name, that you are the one that's doing this authorization, and that you are proving that Dr. Singh is the medical doctor that is admitting this person.
So now, do we have to call Dr. Singh before we do any of this? or-
No, this is a standard form that we do every single time. It's always Dr. Singh, always MD next to his name, slash, then your name. And if you have a title in Access, then you would put the Access specialist, and then you put the date.
So that is very important. I think that's the last action item. What information are you putting on that signature line as the qualified practitioner?
Yes.
Melissa described it in detail for you. So if you missed it, just hit rewind, you'll hear it again.
Now, on the very next side of that, it says date. This is the day that you are submitting this information to the managed care organization. So the date right next to that is going to say today's date instead of the day that they were admitted. You're going to put today's date. If it's the same, that's fine, but make sure that the date that you're submitting the information is the date that you're doing it.
That's pretty clear.
Yes.
Are there any other things? So Melissa, why is this just important for us to get right the first time?
Well, we want to make sure we have all the information that is pertaining to this PA form, and it has to be correct so that we can get authorization for days on the inpatient unit stay. So we want to make sure that we are putting all the correct clinical information in here to get this authorization approved for this client.
Because if we don't get it right, is there the possibility that we would not be able to bill for a day?
Yes, yes, we would have to resubmit. If we put wrong information on here, we have to resubmit it. They will send a notification to Beverly, and then she will call us, and we would have to redo this. And it does cause problems later on down the road.
And it takes a lot of time,
Yes.
doesn't it?
Uh-huh.
So that's the thing. The reason we are spending so much time on the detail of this, because we've had this happen, haven't we? Where
Yes.
we've had to go back in
Mhm.
and we've had to re-input all of this information, and
Mm-hmm.
it takes time. And in some instances, we may have lost a day of
Yes.
billing.
Yeah.
So that's an instance, we provided services, we've done everything on our part, except we didn't fill the form out correctly the first time.
Right.
And so we missed billing the day.
Yes, and also after you got this completed, of course, you would go back into this client's documentation on Essentia, and you would also print off information as far as if there was a crisis note. You would also enter in the information from the hospital labs that you got back from them. Those are all critical pieces of this that help build the case for this person to be on our inpatient unit. If you have an emergency detention paperwork, that would go in there as well. And the inpatient documents, the nursing assessment, and the history and physical from the inpatient unit are all good documentation to get this secure, that you will get these days for this client to have authorization for inpatient stay.
So Melissa, we want to thank you. We want to thank Amber. The Ben does some of this, right?
Yes.
So we want to thank everyone. Is there anyone else that I'm missing?
No,
on
but we
this?
will have more of our staff being able to do this, so
Yeah.
it will be good for everybody, so.
So we really are taking the time. Thank you, Melissa.
Mhm.
We really are taking the time to go step by step through this. So take your time again. Again, we want you to watch this video 2 times, just so you get it. We're gonna cut it to 5 days. That should be plenty of time. You just watch it 2 times,
Mhm.
5 days, answer the action items. And this is just part of our insurance training for everyone. We're just gonna go step by step through it. Our level of activity, it just keeps going up, up, up. So we gotta make sure we get everyone trained in it. You
Oh,
can,
no, I'm sorry. I
yeah,
don't
go
wanna cut
ahead.
you off, but I also want to specify too, so we have already established that this client has HIP MDY, so it's Healthy Indiana Plan MDYs. We already have the fax information already right above it on our filing cabinet where we have our recycle. There are all of these entities are already, the forms are already there. So once we establish that, we would go back into the MDY's fax cover sheet and we would add that to our documentation. And then we'd also put on there who the client is that we're sending this information for, the date and the time.
Yeah, and that's a great point.
Mhm.
And because like the thing is, if you're unsure, and let's say you're the only one in the office and you're unsure, hey, you can phone a friend. I phoned you over the weekend, haven't I,
Yes,
Melissa?
yes.
So it's like even when I don't know, I don't even pretend like I know. It's like who is going to know the information? And
Mhm.
so we're going to get you an answer. We're a team. We're working together on it. So
Yes.
we really do want to emphasize that. All right. Well, guess what? This was part of the 13 tools, and this is fine tuning. So your answers to the action items will show that we are fine tuning our information. This is one of the 13 tools, and we'll just keep coming back with you with more information. Thank you very much, Melissa.
Thank you.
All right. Check you later. Thanks for doing that.
And I wish you could stand up.